The lights dim on the grand stage of human existence, revealing a singular, stark truth. We are at our very core alone. This isn't the fleeting ache of missing a friend, nor the sharp pang of a breakup, but a deeper, more fundamental solitude that Irvin D. Yalom masterfully illuminates throughout his work. He calls it existential isolation, and it's perhaps the most profound of what he terms the givens of existence, those undeniable realities of life that shape our experience whether we acknowledge them or not. This isn't a flaw in our design, but a foundational aspect of being human, a chasm that cannot be truly bridged, even by the most intense love or the closest bond. Imagine a newborn taking its first breath. From that moment, a unique consciousness awakens, distinct and separate from all others. While we spend our lives seeking connection, merging our experiences, sharing our joys and sorrows, there remains an unyielding boundary. No one can fully enter the subjective world of another. No one can feel your pain exactly as you do, or see the world precisely through your eyes. This is the unbridgeable gulf, a phrase Yalom often employs to describe the inherent separateness that defines each individual's journey. It's the silent backdrop to every relationship, every conversation, every shared moment. This isn't to say that all forms of loneliness are existential. Far from it. There's interpersonal loneliness, the more common and often treatable form that arises from a lack of social connection, of friends, family, or community. There's also interpersonal loneliness, the unsettling feeling of being disconnected from oneself, from one's own desires, values, or authentic self. These are significant and can be deeply painful. But Yalom invites us to gaze beyond these, into the abyss of existential isolation, a loneliness born not from a lack of connection, but from the very nature of consciousness itself. It's the realization that you are the sole captain of your soul, navigating an inner world no one else can fully chart. So, why is it so crucial to acknowledge this unsettling truth? Because, as Yalom often argues, our attempts to deny or escape existential isolation can lead to profound psychological distress and unhealthy patterns. We might merge ourselves completely into relationships, losing our sense of self in a desperate attempt to erase the boundary. We might become overly dependent or conversely, push others away in a preemptive strike against potential abandonment. We might even chase fleeting pleasures or achievements, hoping to fill the void, only to find the emptiness persists once the high fades. In existential psychotherapy, Yalom delves deeply into how this avoidance manifests in clinical settings, showing how patient struggles often trace back to an unexamined fear of this fundamental aloneness. He would argue that much of what brings people therapy, from anxiety to addiction, can be seen as a desperate, often unconscious, flight from this ultimate isolation. Consider the characters in Yalom's fictional works, like Dr. Ernest Lash in Lying on the Couch, who grapples with his own isolation even as he attempts to connect with and heal his patients, or the historical figures reimagined in When Nietzsche Wept, who, despite their intellectual prowess, are not immune to the deep human need for connection and the pervasive shadow of ultimate aloneness. These narratives aren't just stories. They're profound explorations of this inescapable truth, showing how even the greatest minds and most empathetic healers must confront their own inherent solitude. The acknowledgement of existential isolation is not meant to induce despair. Quite the contrary. For Yalom, facing this truth is a first step toward a more authentic and meaningful life. It's a call to courage, an invitation to recognize our inherent strength and autonomy. If we are truly alone at our core, then the choices we make, the values we embrace, and the meaning we create become profoundly ours, born not from external obligation, but from an internal wellspring. It encourages us to cultivate internal resources, to find solace within ourselves, and to appreciate the connections we do forge with others precisely because they are not guarantees against our ultimate aloneness, but rather precious, chosen acts of connection that enrich our journey. This deeper understanding of loneliness paves the way for a more profound appreciation of life, compelling us to live with greater intention and forge connections with greater depth, knowing they are built on the bedrock of shared humanity rather than a futile attempt to erase the inevitable in an age saturated with digital interfaces, where friends are counted in thousands and curated lives unfurl across glowing screens. The paradox of modern connection looms large. We are seemingly more connected than ever, yet often feel profoundly alone. This isn't just a casual observation. It's a symptom of what Irvin D. Yalom, if you were to look at our current landscape, might identify as a widespread flight from authentic connection into the comfortable, yet ultimately shallow embrace of the superficial. We scroll, we comment, mistaking these fleeting interactions for the deep, nourishing bonds that truly sustain the human spirit and alleviate interpersonal loneliness. The challenge, then, is to move beyond this facade and learn how to cultivate connections that are genuine, meaningful, and capable of touching the existential core. Yalom's work, particularly his insights into group therapy and the therapeutic relationship, offers a powerful blueprint for what authentic connection truly entails. He posits that genuine connection is built on vulnerability, empathy, and presence. It's not about presenting a perfect, unblemished self, but rather having the courage to reveal our true selves, including our fears, insecurities, and doubts. In the safety of a therapeutic group or a deep one-on-one interaction, individuals learn to drop their masks. They experience a profound relief of being seen and accepted for who they are, flaws and all. This act of being real is the bedrock of true intimacy. It's the antithesis of the carefully constructed online persona, where imperfections are edited out and struggles are rarely aired. Consider Yalom's approach to group therapy, meticulously detailed in his foundational text, The Theory and Practice of Group Psychotherapy. He identifies interpersonal learning as one of the most potent therapeutic factors. This isn't just about talking to others. It's about seeing how one's behavior impacts others in real time, about receiving honest feedback, and about daring to experiment with new ways of relating. In the crucible of the group, members learn that their anxieties, their secrets, and their unacceptable thoughts are often universal, a process Yalom calls universality. This shared humanity breaks down barriers, fostering a sense of belonging that digital platforms, with their emphasis on individual performance and presentation, rarely achieve. The feeling of, I am not alone in this, is a powerful antidote to loneliness, far more potent than 1,000 likes on a post. The pursuit of authentic connection also demands presence. In our hyper-distracted world, where notifications constantly vie for our attention, truly being with another person is becoming a rare art. Yalom, through his clinical narratives and books like Love's Executioner, repeatedly demonstrates the transformative power of a therapist's undivided attention and genuine engagement. It's in those moments of focused listening, of empathetic understanding, that real connection flourishes. This means putting down our phones, silencing the internal chatter, and truly listening, not just waiting for our turn to speak, but absorbing the other person's narrative, feelings, and underlying needs. This deep listening communicates value and respect, affirming the other person's existence in a way that quick texts or fleeting emojis never can. Furthermore, authentic connection often requires us to lean into discomfort. It means having difficult conversations, navigating conflict with grace, and offering support when it's inconvenient. It means being willing to be affected by another's pain and joy, rather than maintaining a safe, detached distance. The facade of social media, by its very nature, encourages us to avoid this discomfort. It allows us to curate our interactions, to block dissenting voices, and to exist in echo chambers that reinforce our existing beliefs. But genuine relationships thrive on the messy, unpredictable, and often challenging realities of human interaction. They demand an openness to influence and a willingness to compromise, qualities rarely fostered in the curated online sphere. Ultimately, cultivating authentic connection is an ongoing practice, a conscious choice to prioritize depth over breadth, quality over quantity. It's about recognizing that while social media can be a tool for communication, it is a poor substitute for the visceral, messy, and deeply rewarding experience of genuine human interaction. As Yalom's work implicitly teaches, the true cure for interpersonal loneliness doesn't lie in accumulating more followers or likes, but in daring to be vulnerable, to empathize deeply, and to be truly present with another soul. It's in these moments, often quiet and unassuming, that the profound relief of being truly seen and connected is found, pushing back against the encroaching tide of isolation in our hyper-connected, yet often profoundly disconnected world, in a world that often equates being alone with loneliness. The idea of embracing solitude can seem counterintuitive, even unsettling. Yet, Irvin D., Yalom's expansive body works subtly and often profoundly, champions a paradoxical truth. that consciously confronting and even valuing our aloneness can be a powerful, transformative path to self-discovery and profound personal growth. This isn't about isolating oneself from the world, but rather about cultivating an inner sanctuary, a space where we can truly meet ourselves, unburdened by external expectations or the constant hum of social interaction. Consider how often we flee from silence, from stillness, from the raw encounter with our own thoughts. We fill our days with activity, our ears with noise, our minds with distractions, anything to avoid the quiet contemplation that might reveal unsettling truths about ourselves or our place in the world. This aversion to solitude, Yalom might suggest, is often a symptom of our deeper discomfort with existential isolation. If we can't bear to be alone with ourselves, how can we truly know who we are? How can we discern our authentic desires, our core values, or the meaning we wish to create in our lives, if we are constantly defined by our relationships or our reactions to the outside world? Yalom's narratives, particularly in his nonfiction works like Love's Executioner and Other Tales of Psychotherapy, often showcase patients who, through the therapeutic process, come to terms with their own inner landscapes. They discover hidden strengths, confront suppressed fears, and clarify their own sense of self precisely because therapy provides a unique, contained space where they are, in a fundamental way, alone with their own thoughts and feelings, guided by an empathetic, yet distinct other. This aloneness together in therapy serves as a microcosm for the larger task of embracing solitude. It's in these moments of introspection, of quiet reckoning, that we begin to hear our own voice separate from the chorus of external influences. The paradox lies in this. While existential loneliness highlights our ultimate separateness, consciously chosen solitude can lead to a richer, more defined sense of self, which in turn strengthens our capacity for deeper, more authentic connection when we choose to engage with others. If we don't know who we are in our own company, how can we bring a whole, integrated self to a relationship? A person who fears solitude often enters relationships out of need or a desperate desire to fill an inner void, which can lead to codependency or an inability to set healthy boundaries. Conversely, someone who has embraced their solitude, who knows and values their own company, approaches relationships from a place of strength and choice, not desperation. Think of it as an internal pilgrimage. When we step away from the noise, we create the space for introspection, for reflection, for creativity. It's often in these moments that breakthroughs occur, that insights emerge, and that we connect with our deeper wisdom. Artists, writers, and thinkers throughout history have often sought solitude not as an escape from the world, but as a necessary condition for their craft, for plumbing the depths of human experience and bringing forth new ideas. This process of deep self-engagement, fostered by solitude, is a vital component of what Yalom might term self-possession, being fully present and accountable for one's own being. Furthermore, embracing solitude also builds resilience. If our sense of well-being is entirely dependent on external validation or constant social interaction, we become vulnerable to the inevitable ebb and flow of relationships and external circumstances. By cultivating an inner world that can sustain us, by finding comfort and even joy in our own company, we develop a robust sense of self that can weather life's storms. It allows us to process emotions, make deliberate choices, and align our actions with our deepest values, rather than being swept along by external pressures. Ultimately, Yalom's subtle advocacy for encountering our aloneness isn't a call to isolation, but an invitation to profound liberation. It's about recognizing that the unbridgeable gulf isn't a curse, but a sacred space for self-discovery. By daring to sit with ourselves, to listen to our inner voice, and to cultivate a rich inner life, we become more complete, more authentic individuals. And in becoming more complete within ourselves, we paradoxically enhance our capacity for truly meaningful, chosen connections with others, bringing a more robust and self-aware presence to those relationships that truly matter. It's a journey from avoiding a feared state to embracing a powerful tool for personal evolution. The realization that we are fundamentally alone at our core, what Irvin D. Yalom terms existential isolation, can initially feel daunting, even terrifying. It's the unbridgeable gulf we discussed, a chasm that seemingly separates each individual from every other. However, Yalom's profound insight, woven into the fabric of his therapeutic philosophy, reveals a powerful paradox, that precisely by acknowledging this universal, inescapable aloneness, we can actually forge deeper, more authentic, and ultimately more comforting bonds with others. This isn't about escaping loneliness, but about sharing the burden of its truth, finding solidarity in our shared human condition. Think about a secret kept deep inside, a fear or vulnerability that feels too shameful or unique to share. The weight of that secret often creates a sense of profound isolation, separating us from others who might otherwise offer support or understanding. The moment that secret is bravely shared and met not with judgment but with empathy and recognition, a powerful connection is forged. The burden lessens, and the individual realizes they are not, in fact, alone in their particular struggle. Yalom frequently illustrates this phenomenon within the context of group therapy, where the universality of human experience emerges as a crucial therapeutic factor. Patients, hearing others voice fears or struggles they believe were exclusively their own, experience immense relief and a powerful sense of belonging. The isolation they felt begins to dissipate, not because the fear vanishes, but because it is shared, witnessed, and understood. The same principle applies to existential loneliness. When we understand that the profound sense of aloneness is not a personal failing, but a fundamental aspect of human consciousness, a truth shared by every single person who has ever lived or will ever live, it transforms from a terrifying burden into a shared reality. This understanding allows us to approach others not as potential saviors from our aloneness, but as fellow travelers on the same solitary journey. In the theory and practice of group psychotherapy, Yalom emphasizes how the shared exploration of these ultimate concerns, death, freedom, meaning, and isolation, can be intensely bonding. When group members grapple openly with their own existential anxieties, they create a space of profound honesty and vulnerability that transcends superficial pleasantries and forges genuine, lasting connections. They realize, I am not alone in my aloneness. This shared understanding fosters a deeper form of empathy. If I truly grasp at you, like me, navigate an inner world that no one else can fully access, that you too will face your own death, make your own choices, and search for your own meaning, then my capacity to understand and connect with your experience expands exponentially. Our relationships move beyond mere companionship to a more profound solidarity. We become witnesses to each other's unique journeys, offering support and presence not as a means to erase the ultimate solitude, but as a way to make the journey less burdensome, less frightening. The unspoken agreement becomes, I see your aloneness, and you see mine, and in that shared recognition, we are less alone. Consider the profound connection that can form between individuals who have experienced a similar, isolating trauma, or those who belong to a minority group that feels misunderstood by the mainstream. Their shared experience of being other or grappling with a unique burden often creates an immediate, deep bond. This is a microcosm of the larger truth. Our shared humanity, particularly our shared vulnerabilities and existential predicaments, is a powerful catalyst for connection. When we drop the pretense of self-sufficiency and perfection and allow our authentic, existentially burdened selves to be seen, we invite others to do the same, creating a space for genuine intimacy. Yalom's works, especially his case studies in Love's Executioner, are filled with poignant examples of individuals coming to terms with their isolation, often through the very act of sharing their deepest fears with another human being, their therapist or fellow group members. The cure for the pain of existential isolation isn't its eradication, but its integration, its acceptance, and most powerfully, its mutual acknowledgement. It's about realizing that while we are individually alone in our experience, we are collectively united by that very condition. This realization doesn't diminish the aloneness, but it transforms it from a crushing burden into a shared human fate, making the journey feel less solitary and more connected. It allows us to build bridges of understanding, not across the unbridgeable gulf, but from one side of the gulf to another, acknowledging the space in between, but sharing the journey across and the vast, often indifferent cosmos. A profound question echoes through the human experience. What is the meaning of it all? For Irvin D. Yalom, this is a mere philosophical pondering, but core, given of existence, a fundamental challenge each individual must confront. If we accept the premise of existential isolation, that we are fundamentally alone, and the absence of any inherent, preordained universal meaning, then the task of creating personal meaning becomes not just important, but essential. It serves as a potent antidote to the sense of existential emptiness, a void that can feel as isolating and daunting as the deepest loneliness itself. Many people arrive at therapy, consciously or unconsciously, grappling with this very void. They may feel restless, unfulfilled, or purposeless, despite having achieved conventional markers of success or being surrounded by others. This meaninglessness can manifest as a pervasive boredom, a lack of passion, or even a quiet despair. Yalom often points out that we are meaning-seeking creatures. Our brains are wired to find patterns and tell stories, to make sense of our world. When no ready-made meaning is supplied, the burden falls squarely on our shoulders to construct it. This is where the concept of freedom comes into play. Another of Yalom's ultimate concerns. We are free to choose our responses, free to choose our values, and ultimately, free to choose what we imbue with meaning. This freedom, while exhilarating, can also be terrifying as it places a full weight of responsibility for our lives upon us. Yalom's fictional works often explore this quest for meaning. In the Schopenhauer Cure, for instance, the characters, both the therapist and the group members, are engaged in a raw, authentic struggle to find purpose in their lives. Julius Herz, the therapist, confronts his own mortality, leading him to reevaluate his life's trajectory. The group members, each grappling with their own unique suffering, are pushed to articulate what truly matters to them, often finding meaning in connection, in contribution, or in simply facing their existence with courage. This isn't about grand, sweeping gestures, but often about the small, deliberate acts that align with one's deepest values. So, how does one create meaning? It's not about waiting for meaning to descend upon us like a divine revelation. Instead, it's an active process. Yalom suggests that meaning can be found in several key areas, often interconnected. First, through love and connection. While acknowledging existential isolation, Yalom also emphasizes that meaningful relationships are paramount. When we genuinely connect with others, love them, and feel loved in return, these experiences provide profound meaning. It's in the shared joy, the mutual support, and the deep empathy that we transcend our individual isolation and find purpose in our shared humanity. Second, through creativity and contribution, engaging in pursuits that allow us to create, to build, to express ourselves, or to contribute something of value to the world can imbue life with profound purpose. This doesn't necessarily mean becoming a famous artist. It could be anything from gardening to writing, to raising children, to excelling in one's craft, to volunteering. The act of bringing something new into existence or making a positive difference, however small, can be deeply meaningful. Third, through self-transcendence. This involves moving beyond our own immediate desires and concerns to connect with something larger than ourselves. This could be nature, a spiritual practice, a cause, or a community. When we contribute to something bigger than our individual existence, we often find a powerful sense of purpose and belonging that mitigates feelings of emptiness. Finally, and perhaps most fundamentally, meaning can be found in facing our mortality. This is a recurrent theme for Yalom, particularly in staring at the sun, overcoming the terror of death. The awareness of our finite time on earth, rather than being paralyzing, can be a powerful catalyst for living more fully, more authentically, and more meaningfully. If time is limited, how do we want to spend it? What truly matters to us? This confrontation can sharpen our focus, clarify our priorities, and empower us to make choices that align with our deepest values, thereby creating a life rich with personal significance. The pursuit of meaning is a lifelong journey, not a destination. It's a continuous process of questioning, exploring, and aligning our lives with what we truly value. By actively engaging in this creation, by leaning into our freedom and responsibility, we transform potentially paralyzing void of existential emptiness into a vibrant canvas upon which we paint our own unique purpose, an antidote that enriches our lives and, paradoxically, lessens the sting of our inherent aloneness, at the heart of Irvin D. Yalom's extensive work, beyond profound philosophical explorations of death, freedom, isolation, and meaning, lies a deeply practical and compassionate insight. The therapeutic relationship itself serves as a powerful microcosm and blueprint for healing and authentic human connection. It's not just a setting where problems are discussed. It is, in Yalom's view, a living laboratory where patients can genuinely experience being seen, understood, and ultimately transformed to the unique bond forged with their therapist. For individuals grappling with the deep pangs of loneliness, whether interpersonal, interpersonal, or existential, this relationship offers a unique space to learn how to connect, how to be vulnerable, and how to relate to another human being in a profoundly meaningful way. Yalom emphasizes that the cure in psychotherapy often isn't solely in the techniques employed, but in the authenticity and quality of the relationship between therapist and patient. In The Gift of Therapy, a collection of clinical wisdom, he states, "It is the relationship that heals." This isn't a casual friendship. It's a professional relationship built on specific ethical guidelines, but one where the therapist brings their full, authentic self, marked by empathy, transparency, and a genuine presence. This creates a safe container, a space free from judgment, where the patient feels safe enough to drop their defenses, explore their deepest fears, and reveal their most vulnerable selves, something they might never have dared do in other relationships. Consider how this addresses loneliness. Many individuals struggling with loneliness have, often unconsciously, developed relational patterns that push others away or prevent true intimacy. They might fear rejection, harbor deep-seated mistrust, or lack the social skills to bridge the gap between themselves and others. The therapeutic relationship provides an immediate, real-time opportunity to understand and change these patterns. If a patient habitually avoids eye contact, or deflects questions with humor, or struggles to express anger, these behaviors will inevitably manifest in the therapy room. A Yalomian therapist, rather than ignoring these patterns, would gently and empathetically bring them into awareness, exploring their roots and their impact. This process, often called here and now exploration, allows the patient to experiment with new ways of relating in a safe environment. Furthermore, the therapist's consistent presence and unconditional positive regard provide a corrective emotional experience. For someone who has felt unseen, unheard, or judged throughout their life, the experience of having a therapist genuinely listen, understand, and accept them can be profoundly healing. It rebuilds trust, not just in others, but in the possibility of connection itself. This positive experience then becomes a blueprint. As the patient learns to trust a therapist, they often begin to risk greater vulnerability in their external relationships, applying the lessons learned within the therapeutic frame. They learn that being authentic does not necessarily lead to abandonment, and that expressing their true selves can, in fact, deepen connections. Yalom also highlights the importance of the therapist's own self-disclosure, used judiciously and authentically, not to burden the patient, but to model vulnerability and human connection. This isn't about sharing personal life details randomly, but about strategically revealing relevant internal experiences or feelings about the patient in a way that deepens a bond and furthers the patient's growth. This kind of transparency reinforces the idea that the therapist is also a human being, sharing in the human condition, making the connection feel more real and less one-sided. In essence, the therapeutic relationship, as envisioned by Yalom, is a powerful antidote to loneliness because it directly addresses the core human need for connection, understanding, and acceptance. It provides a unique space where individuals can not only explore the roots of their isolation, but also actively practice the very skills needed to forge deeper, more meaningful bonds in their lives outside of therapy. It serves as a living, breathing example of what authentic human connection can look like, offering hope and practical tools for navigating the unbridgeable gulf and finding true solace in shared humanity. If these insights into Irvin D, Yalom's profound wisdom resonated with you, imagine the further clarity and connection you could find in our upcoming discussions. We're dedicated to exploring the depths of human experience, offering perspectives that empower and inspire. Don't miss out. Subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content. Hit the notification bell to stay updated, and join our growing community committed to understanding life's biggest questions. Let's continue this journey of self-discovery together.